Yeah. 1 2 1 2. You know how we do. It's your boy BQ. Welcome to the Impact Lounge, number one place to be for the Impact Wrestling fan. Here's your Impact Wrestling review. One time for your mind. You guys know I hate doing Tuesday podcasts. Like usually at the absolute latest, I like to do Mondays, but it was my Air Force Reserve weekend, and usually I just take a break from podcasting that weekend because it's sorry, my hat's on crooked. Usually I take a complete break from podcasting that weekend because it's too much, to work 12 days in a row and then have to podcast. It's difficult, but I was committed to knocking out this podcast for you guys. So I didn't want to skip. So I'm going to talk about this episode, this past one. I was listening to the Brace for Impact podcast a couple days after Impact aired. And based off their review, and I tend to really agree with everything they talk about. We have very similar mindsets. Those are my guys. But based off their review, I thought this was going to be a bad episode because I actually listened to their review before I watched the show. But I thought I was not going to like it just based on the picture they were painting. They didn't say it was a bad show necessarily, but I just didn't get a vibe. It was a good one. And I was pleasantly surprised. I liked the episode. I definitely liked it. I think last week I said I didn't really care for it. I think I said it was just okay. This was a good show. So I'm going to talk about it, give my thoughts like I always do. If you're first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button. I know I've brought this up a couple times. I'm going to be moving in the summer from Illinois, Chillinois, as I call it, out to Nevada. And I think the rest of up till that point, I'm going to kind of stick to these weekly podcasts. But I do have some plans once I get there and able to get a little more organized and have some more space to really relaunch this channel again. So I've been jotting down lots of ideas, trying to come up with a game plan so I can kind of get the lounge back to where it's been. I've been wanting to do that for a while. It's just been really, really difficult for me. But I really want to get there again. So let's talk about the episode. First things first. That's the first thing I said in the title of this video here. New hard cam angle. And I cannot believe it has taken this long. We have wanted this. The Impact fan base has wanted this so badly. I've even gone as far to say that the setup they were using was depressing. It was no different, almost no different than when there was no fans there, period. Because we just had, 12, 13 fans, same people we're used to seeing, watching the Impact screensaver. It was just depressing. I really felt like it was depressing. And this was something that all fans agreed on. This wasn't like, oh, negative BQ said this. So-and-so said this. I don't agree with this guy. Everybody, 100% of the people in this Impact Wrestling fan base, the faithful, if you will, wanted the hard cam off the damn entrance ramp. Now, it works for Ring of Honor. I think AEW got away from that view for them, but initially they were still doing that angle. Sorry, I got to turn my mic down a little. It's a little loud in my headphones. Check. It worked for Ring of Honor, but the stage setup they had was a lot more professional looking than what Impact had, and it had the Ring of Honor. I don't even know what the hell you call them on the guardrails, the whatever you call that, like drapes over the guardrails, and it was just it looked better. It just flat out did. Like the Impact setup did. It just never really did, and I don't think the fan base ever warmed up to it. They wanted something different, and I just can't believe it took this long. I mean, how long are you going to play with the same deck before you reshuffle the cards? It made this episode so much more enjoyable. I felt like I was watching a different company. I really did. It was like a brand new company. I didn't have these like red distractions that have been distracting me for the last like 3 years. We could see the fans, and this is what I don't know if you guys like picked up on this. but the wrestlers were more engaged with the audience when they're the ones who were in there cutting promos, even like Giselle Shaw or whoever was in there, or even the way the matches, they were wrestling the matches. They were more engaged with the audience. And what's one of the things I've been saying over the last couple of years that I always felt like there was a disconnect between the fan base, not the fan base, I'm sorry, but the live audience and the wrestling in the ring. Granted, I think since 2023, I know we're only a couple months into it, or a month and a half into it, not even a month and a half. But in even the tail end of 2022, the audience was coming across livelier. We've been able to like hear them a lot more. Like there were many times last year where it was a larger audience, but we didn't really hear that much of a difference. So the fans are starting to get engaged in a way that we haven't seen in the since like the TNA, the good TNA days. I was watching a clip on I think I was watching a match on Facebook, but it was from the Pop TV days, which was my favorite. I talked about I had some ideas for the channel. I do have some Patreon ideas, um, and it's probably going to entail re-reviewing some of the Impact on Pop TV stuff that I started doing when I did this channel, and maybe even reviewing Destination America because I didn't watch any of those. I saw the pay-per-views, but that was it because I didn't have the channel. So I'd be watching them for the first time. So there's just some ideas I have. But anyway, I was watching a match. I wish I remember. It was Cody Rhodes versus Moose. And back then I thought Josh sounded really good. It was when they moved to the Anthem era where Josh got like really corny for me. But um, he sounded good. The Pope sounded good. The ring was a lot louder. Um, when they were slamming and stomping, you just heard a lot of noise, which really helped because it would get so quiet in the impact zone there. But I'm watching this and I'm thinking in my head, do I really was the impact zone audience that quiet back then? As quiet as like we remember it, or we used to complain about, or if it was just one of those things we just wanted them to be louder. And I'll be damned if they weren't all sitting on their damn hands. And I'm talking about the people in the front row who wait in line and who go to all the shows. Just nothing, absolutely nothing. And I don't want to go too much into this. I have always said I went to a lot of those shows in Orlando, and I always said there's not as many tourists there as people think. I know that's like the dirt sheets wants you to think it was just Orlando tourists. Like it really wasn't. Like the majority of the people in there, I always felt were fans. There were some tourists, yes, but yeah, it was as quiet as I thought I remember it being. It was crazy. And now we're starting to hear the people more, and now we can see them. And I talked about AEW's fan base and even like the early I don't mean early NWAs like back in the day, but I mean the early NWA when Billy Corgan brought it to YouTube and it's like really popular for that little stretch. What I always said about those two shows in particular, and then even like NXT and everything, like the fans were a part of the show. They looked like they were having a blast. And then we would watch Impact and we just didn't get that energy. I mean, how many times we just seen people sitting on their hands, not reacting to anything. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I thought that was like really missing. So that's why I was saying there was like a disconnect between the Impact audience and the action. But now when I was watching with this new camera angle and it's showing the people, it was like the people are like now a part of the show. There was a couple signs out there. They look like Impact fans. Like right now as a TV audience, and especially to a casual wrestling fan, let me try Impact again. The Impact audience is like 8 people because that's all we ever see on the damn screen. Um, the lighting looked noticeably better. Now, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about what do you call it? The camera is shit. It's white something. The cameras. It's the setting you put it on that essentially does like a color correction. Um, it's escaping me right now. My God, but what that does is on the cameras, it finds out what's the color white. It determines what white is, and then that's like your baseline for the rest of the colors, so to speak. Like the quality of what you see is based on that color white, and what that color white determines the rest of the colors are supposed to look like. I know that's a horrible explanation. I wasn't really prepared to talk about it, but that's like because depending on where you're using a camera, depending on what the lighting is, sometimes it's cooler, sometimes it's darker because of whatever the ambient lighting is or whatever kind of lights you're using. So you have to adjust. So it's kind of like my camera right here. So I just for watching it. Well, I don't stream anymore, so you're only on podcast platforms. You only watch me on YouTube. I just made myself cooler right now. It also made my skin a lot whiter. Um, or if I make it too bright, now my skin is like white. And the cameras, I don't know if Impact is hiring people local or they're hiring cheap or whatever. They're not they're not making the adjustments. I always thought it was a post edit, post production thing, like like a filter they were putting it over and putting over the action. But they gotta get their shit together, because what happens is you get this one great angle, and then you get a different camera, and it's like the quality completely changes and the lighting looks different, and it's just like those little things they gotta work on. But I thought the overall just lighting, it looked more lit up, and I don't know if it was more lit up or it's because it wasn't against a black backdrop with the flashing red. I think because there was a bunch of people sitting there and they had different color shirts, I think it just looked like livelier. I think it was just more pleasing to the eye. I hope they do this going forward. I think everyone can agree with me on that. I hope it's not one of those like they did after Bound for Glory. They continued it for an episode, and then when they went to do a new set of tapings, they went like right back. I think the Impact fan base would be really disappointed if they were to do that. But it really felt like watching a new company. It was a totally different viewing experience. So I know I talked about that quite a bit. Thanks for those who have trickled in here to the live stream, and I'm sorry that I can't engage with you guys for these live streams. It's just it was different when hopefully we get TW back in here soon, but it's a lot different when there's two of us, and I can monitor that. Um, so it's a little more difficult. So let's talk about this episode, though. I was saying at the top that based on listening to the Brace for Impact guys, not saying they trash the show, but based on that podcast, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this episode. It sounds bad, because I listened to them before I watched the episode. I do that every blue moon when I don't really care about the card and like who wins, or I know who's going to win the matches. I'm just like, I'll listen to a review first. This kicked off with, first of all, we got very long opening package and we own the night, and it wasn't until the 2-minute 43-second mark that we got the Bullet Club entering, and I think that's too long. But it's good you're kicking it off with the Bullet Club. You're not kicking it off with John Schuyler or something like that. You got one of the more popular acts coming out. This opening tag match, and I've been talking for the last several months about wrestling, about Impact being this like wrestling heavy show all of a sudden, and like where's the creative, and it's just good wrestling. And I wasn't caring about a lot of the matches for that reason. I wasn't like invested. Um, I haven't watched a lot of Kushida. Obviously, he's done some stuff with Impact. And I think I watched him on AEW a week or two ago. It was against Orange Cassidy, so I didn't really care. And then what's his partner's name? Kevin Knight. Not familiar with this dude whatsoever. I don't watch any New Japan, nothing. So initially I was like, I don't care about this match. That was my first thought. I was just like, I don't care. This tag team match, folks. I mean, you guys know, you saw it. This was a great match. I mean, they just really did some, Chris Bay did that like cutter on the outside onto the hard part of the apron. I mean, this was a hell of a freaking match. And I know sometimes Impact will do a match like, oh, Josh Alexander is going to wrestle this dude for an hour and a half, and they think that like the casual. And again, when I say casual, I don't mean someone flipping the channels. I mean, a wrestling fan who's doesn't really care about Impact. That's like I'll see if I'll watch it if it's on, or I'll give it a chance. That's kind of what I say when I say casual. But if that casual person, if that viewer was watching this episode, you know, to rewind what I was just saying, like sometimes they're like, oh, Josh Alexander is going to wrestle this guy for 2 hours, and they think that that's going to bring those people in, you know, and I don't think so. But I think if I were watching Impact for the first time in years, months, whatever, and this match was on, it would make me watch the rest of the episode. It would make me tune in next week. Like, I thought it was that good. And again, kind of like what I was saying here at the beginning, the audience is engaged. We can see people having fun. The wrestlers seem to be playing up to the audience more because they knew we could see them, you know? And that's why I said it feel like a different company. It was great. And I don't even like the Bullet Club. And I don't even know these other two dudes. But I was like, this was a freaking hell of a tag team match. So this was a great way to kick it off. And I did see one person in particular on Facebook say, I hadn't watched Impact in years. I saw the opening match and I'm hooked. You know, I feel like saying, well, the whole show isn't like that, but yeah, dude, I really think, I know the viewership was around 95,000, which is kind of hovering where they are, but I would like to see how that carries over to the next week, because sometimes we get those big dips. And I thought the match was so good. Like, I really think if you were tuning in, ain't seen Impact in forever, and watch this, you'd be like, yo, I'm going to tune in again next week. I really thought it was very impactful in that sense. I'm going to load a picture here because I'm talking a lot about the the new camera angles in the presentation. This is Women of Wrestling. And, as I also mentioned, 95,000 was the viewership. This last WoW episode was like 325,000 or something crazy like that. Granted, there's syndication, it's different. But if you look at this, there's just multiple colors going on. There's just a lot going on. There's good lighting. It's not focusing on just one singular freaking color. There's a lot here. It looks, excuse me, the show is bad. The show's very bad. I still watch it though. It's not that I think it sucks. I just don't know any of the girls. The previous version that Access TV canceled had a lot of girls that we know. It had a lot of the knockouts in there. I don't know 90% of these girls. So that's why I have a hard time understanding it. But this audience, these people you see, granted, it's a little scripted because it's Glow, basically. But these people you see, they're really, really engaged with what's going on because of the character presentations that WoW does as well. So, you watch a show like that and it looks really professional and it looks like people are having fun and people tune in, and it's like I said, it's not good. It's not bad. It's just not good. Like Impact's a much superior product to what you watch on here. So I really think now with these new angles and everything, we're just going to get a livelier show from the crowds. The wrestler, the audience now knows they can be part of the show. They know they can bring signs. They know they can wear shirts. It's worth doing these things. You feel me? What do we got after this, folks? Oh, the last thing I want to say about the audience, I would like this. It looked like they were kind of doing it this episode. I'd like to start seeing some more genuine crowd reactions to the big moves or returns or surprises or whatever. I want to see genuine reactions on people's faces, because I would say 9 times out of 10 when Impact puts an audience, a camera on someone, and pay attention to this next episode, the fan knows the camera's in their face. So it comes off really hokey and forced. We'll just say Bully Ray's in the ring cutting a promo, and then it shows a fan and he's looking right at the camera. He's like, boo. And it looks phony. You know what I mean? It's okay to do that every once in a while. Don't get me wrong. I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking, but that's what I do. I nitpick. I'm just saying I want to start seeing some more genuine reactions from people. I know a lot of you guys who don't watch AEW did watch like the Christian Cage match when he won the Impact World title. or not. So it wasn't that episode, but it was that Dynamite before, where Christian was like, "Hey, it's going to be you and me for the Impact Championship," and there was a pop, and it showed, you know, a couple guys high five each other, clearly like Impact fans or enjoyed Impact. And that's what I'm talking about. That's genuine. That's just genuine reaction. Like two fans were like, "Oh hell yeah, I want to see that." Like, I want to see. I think if we get a little bit of more of that with the crowd, it's even going to make the show a little bit better. Because right now, every time we see someone, it's like a forced, the clap and the boo. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, yes, this opening match with Kushida and Knight versus the Bullet Club, just incredible. And this was four guys that I don't care about. Let me rephrase it. I care about Ace and Bay. I just don't care about the Bullet Club as a whole. All right. The design was backstage with Sammy. I don't know if I understand this. And by the way, they're reintroducing the the purple lights and green lights and the hokey shit again. Ugh. Anyway, I don't know if I understand this like design thing. I'm intrigued, but it's like going on. It's moving so slow. Like, I mean, he's the 12-step process or whatever the hell it is. You know what I'm saying? How come step number 4 is redemption? Because Sammy was supposed to win last week in their eyes, right? Like the third step was to whatever he was supposed to do, prove himself, whatever. But he didn't. He lost. So how is step 4 redemption? What if he won the previous match? What the hell was he going to be redeeming at that point? So I don't know where they're going with this. Lewis on Alliance Pro Wrestling Network, we were talking about this, and he dropped a podcast about it. I think the coolest thing they can do is to bring back Jake Christ and Madman Fulton and do OVE versus the design. If that's where this is going, I think it's going to be good. I'm trying to give it a benefit of the doubt that it's going somewhere interesting in a direction we want to see, because it's moving at a weird pace. I'm not saying it's fast, it's slow or anything. We like long-term storytelling, but it's just we don't understand it, because Sammy was like, "I want to join you guys," but then he acts like really dejected at the same time and doesn't want to listen, doesn't necessarily agree with how they do things. Like, it's coming across weird. I'm like, he doesn't have to be there if he doesn't want to. No one's forcing him. He didn't lose a match where he has to join the design. He's there on his own volition. So why is he acting so dejected and kind of looking at him like, "Why are you making me do this? Like, you signed up for this, bud." So I don't know, but I'm still giving it the benefit of the doubt. There's a lot of people who don't like it. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt still. We got a vignette for Steph DeLander. I'm not familiar with her. I'm not going to bullshit anybody here. Based off how she looks, though, I think she fits the new. Like, they're kind of going for a little bit of an edgier knockout right now. Like, if you think of who they're bringing in, um, Killer Kelly and Masha, Lady Frost to an extent for the short time she was around. The girls got a little bit of edge to them. Even Taylor Wilde's trying to get her character a little. It's still kind of a hokey character, but I mean, it's not all white meat. So I think based off the way she looks, her presentation, I think she fits like what they're doing. I'm going to fast forward here a little bit and talk about, because this happened later in the episode, where Jordan Grace challenges her for next week. Impact has this very weird way of debuting people. Like, I'm from the mindset that when you bring someone in, you give them a good win on television. We know what their finisher is. We know what kind of wrestler they are. And we're like behind them after episode 1. Yo, we want to see more of this person. I'm under that mindset. Like, the first match should be a showcase. They bring people in, and if it's someone from another company or someone who's there for like a week, they'll come in and have a showcase match. They'll beat someone on the roster. Bobby Fish or some shit. Like, they'll come in and beat someone from the roster who's there long term. Some of these people who are around a little longer, the 6-month deals and everything, yeah, we're usually kind of familiar with them already. So they don't got to do a lot of squash stuff. But then the people they actually sign, and I'm not talking about like the Jonathan Gresham level, but the people that are newer that they're introducing us to that we haven't necessarily heard before or we're not super familiar with, they lose off the bat or they're like jobbers off the bat. And you got to let stuff happen organically sometimes. So, like, present them in the best light possible to start. Now, you can't do that every time. I'm not expecting John Schuyler, where his debut match to come out and have a 9-minute match with someone, and we see his whole move set. Like, the dude is not. That's not his spot on the card. But when you got someone like this, who gets a vignette, like if you get a vignette, I'll just if you I'll draw the line right there. If you get a video package or vignette that you are coming, your first match should be some kind of showcase. So we really know like what you're about. Um, and they're gonna put her against Jordan Grace. Like it's just weird. It's like, I mentioned about just let stuff happen organically. We still haven't really seen Jackson Stone on TV. Maybe they have no clue what to do with this character, but just put the dude out there, put his best foot forward. Maybe something's gonna catch on with him. And that's gonna help you creatively and how you want to present this guy on TV and what kind of feuds you want to put him with, or if you have to switch him immediately, babyface heel. I mean, you kind of did it with Bhupinder a little bit. You know, I think that's just like the strategy that works. You know, but there's people on the roster. I've said this many times. We don't even know what the hell their finisher is, and that's part of the wrestler's brand. So you got this person come on. I can't imagine she's going to beat Jordan Gray. She might beat her. Maybe that's going to be the start of something. I feel like she's not though. I'm leaning that direction, but I don't know what they're gonna do. But it's cool to put her in like that kind of high profile match off the bat. But I guess I'm gonna wait and see the match happen itself and see and make that determination because I don't know what they have in mind. Obviously, I've learned that since Bound for Glory to not jump the gun on what they have planned. That doesn't mean I can't watch stuff and still say, hey, this kind of doesn't make sense. Because as of right now, it doesn't make sense. In the week that we're like supposed to be anticipating this person, instead we are assuming she's going to lose. I don't think that's a way to build interest in the match. Regardless of what they end up doing, it's just telling it's us feeling ahead of time like she's going to lose. That I don't think is good for her. But we'll see. I'm not going to write it off yet. We got a weird match here: Giselle Shaw versus Savannah Evans, heel versus heel. Savannah Evans looks like she's going to be by herself for a while. She looked like she was gaining a little bit of steam, and that steam is gone. They just built enough steam for her and Tasha to justify her and Tasha wrestling for the Knockouts championships. Hold on, I want to change my camera settings. I messed with it earlier when I was there we go. I messed with it earlier. So we'll see. But it was an okay match. I'm very invested in anything Giselle does, so I was watching it, and I talked about this last week. That running knee she does, it's the same one that now Jonathan Gresham's winning with. It's not that far off from the Boston Knee Party. Like, I don't know why this company likes to recycle finishers that aren't even that good to begin with. So this came off more as like you feel like, okay, we're gonna try to do something with Savannah Evans, and maybe it's her last match. Maybe they were writing her off TV. I don't really know. But usually when a wrestler wins a match and cuts a promo after, that's usually a company telling you the person they just beat's not important. I mean, just think of next time you're watching any wrestling show you watch and they do that. They win a match and then cut a promo. Think about that opponent and their spot on the card. It's usually like that person doesn't matter. They're kind of a jobber, you know. But Giselle cuts a promo after this that she's the Black Widow, and I feel I really don't feel like we've seen a promo like this on Impact in a while, and maybe it's just because, like I said at the top of the show, the people are there and they're engaged and they're going back and forth, and it just seemed like everyone was it was just simpatico. Everyone was meshing together, and I thought she cut eh, an amazing promo. I think she's going to be a real big part of the knockouts going forward. I think she's great. I like that whole act very much. Then we get Kenny King backstage. It looks like he's resigned. I'm really happy about that. I was saying a week or two ago, I was like really worried that pit fight was his last match, which that match was badass. That's another one that I think if people were tuning in, they would have really liked it. To me, everything Kenny King does, backstage talking with Swinger and everything, I think that dude's a freaking star. Like I think he's just great. He's natural to like he cuts these promos. He got the promo before the match with Swinger, and it's just natural and it's good and it's not like forced and scripted and rehearsed. Like he's a absolute natural. I hope that there's still a little room at the top of the card. I hope that they get him there. I hope he's not like just kind of floundering in the X division. Who's the next hot X division star? He's going to beef with them, and then they're going to beat him. Like that's what I'm a little bit worried about. And then then we get a segment with Santino and Kenny, and it's the blue lights, the red lights, the silliness. There was a lot of Santino on this episode. I think we're gonna get a lot of Santino going forward. It's not like Teddy Long, who would come out, tell someone they were in a tag team match, or they're going, they just got themselves just earned themselves a handicap match versus the Undertaker and Kane player. Like he would come out and do that in the first 15 minutes of the show, but then we didn't really see him again. He might make like a small appearance backstage, but that's usually like the WWE way of doing it. They were a big part of the first show, but the general managers weren't necessarily like booking the entire card as they went on through the episode. And that's kind of how the last couple episodes have been happening, like kind of getting booked on the fly a little bit, which I guess that's okay. The card itself is proof for the most part that it's not going to change the viewership. So, why not change the formula up a little bit? Then Macklin comes out and Dango, like, I'm going to get this out of the way. I actually like Dango. I was a fan of Fandango when I watched WWE, and I mean like the dancer character, not I stopped watching by the time he was doing the stuff with Tyler Breeze. I stopped watching at that point, but I actually like the dude. You have to have people on the roster who can lose, you know, um, so everyone doesn't have to be like at the top. I think he'll serve his purpose. I just thought when he wrestled Macklin a week or two ago that he got like way too much offense, and like Macklin should have been beat the crap out of him. Then we get Crazy Steve versus Sheldon Jean, and I guess Sheldon Jean's a new wrestler on the roster. Again, like what I was saying with Steph DeLander, and then you're talking about some of these other guys you bring in, like Jason Hotch, just another example. Like you sign these guys, but we don't see them win. And again, not every you have to have the jobbers, and you have to have this and this and this, but it just seems like the people they bring in that they have an opportunity to start from scratch. They're just like they don't get an entrance. Nothing. Like they're not even presenting them like we should care. And this dude looks good. He looks different than the other people on the roster, you know? And this is like 2 weeks in a row he's just in to lose, just to get squashed. Crazy Steve, we haven't seen him win a match since Bobby Roode was in TNA, you know what I mean? But he looks good here. They're rebooting Decay. I don't say rebooting is not probably the right word, but there's a new movement with Decay, and I think it's working. I was when they first reformed, people were excited. It just wasn't clicking. And it's weird, but I really think splitting Rosemary off them is what's making them work now. I think the green neon's a little silly, but whatever. It works for Crazy Steve, like being glow in the dark, but I don't understand it on the bullhorns and all that, but whatever. But this wasn't too too bad of a match. Crazy Steve, the daredevil of Impact Wrestling, you can barely freaking see, but he does his thing. You got to give this guy a lot of credit as an athlete. Um, but this was okay here, and this was just squashing a dude so that they could build up something with Trey Miguel after. I am hoping and praying that this is leading towards Zach Wentz coming in or Myron Reed, that he's done with MLW. I think what Trey's doing is excellent right now. If you give him a couple dudes, I think he can be some really good stuff. I like Trey right now. I like Trey a lot. And I think that the K stuff's working. So, Crazy Steve, even though his finisher's a fucking DDT, I like that Belladonna's Kiss, the name. I don't know if I've ever heard it before. I don't know if that's the first time they've like said it. I feel like it is, but I could be totally wrong. Maybe that's been the name for years since he was a part of the company the first time. I don't really know, but that's the first time I ever heard it call it that. And I thought that was a great name. So I'm looking forward to see the eventual Crazy Steve and Trey Miguel match. I think it'll be pretty good. Uh, then after this, we got the backstage interview with Jordan Grace. That's where she challenged Steph Delander, and I don't. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna hold off my judgment until we see the match. I just hope they're not cutting the legs off the girl before she really gets a chance to get going. Like I hope it's not that Sheldon Dean treatment like I just talked about. Like, dude, come in, not make a whole lot and just lose. Like, like you have to start making relative unknowns feel like, hey, you can come in and do something. Otherwise, they're just gonna go wrestle on AEW Dark. So again, I'm gonna hold my judgment. Um, then we got Santino again, with Raven. Why is Raven on the show? Do we need to see the flock? Um, Again, I like Santino. I do think he's funny. I don't want it to force multiple angles with him on the show to where it's not funny anymore. Like you still have to use him in bits and pieces. You can't just have him on every single segment. But they bring in like a lot of old guys and old. I'm not a nostalgic guy. That's just me in general. I'm just always like, let's move forward. Let's be forward thinkers. That's how I like carry my life. You know how I handle my life in general. You know, it's kind of like my sports teams are not good teams. They're uh, depends what you call good. They don't have past success, but I don't care. Like I just don't care what someone used to do. That's just not who I am as a fan. Like I like living in the now and what are we doing tomorrow and the next day and the next year going forward. Like that's just how I am. So I'm never gonna get behind like let's just bring these people back who are just from an era that I don't think we really necessarily need to tap into the people who remember TNA at that time. You know, I don't understand what he's doing on the show. Like I don't know what the role is. They brought the cat dude in, and I've seen some spoilers, of course, on social media about some of the people coming in. Like I just don't. What the hell are they doing? Again, let's not. I will not judge. Um, Bully Ray came out. And he stared down the girl and he fake high fived the fan, and he goes out there and he's kind of promo with Mickey James and all that. Um, he continues to do a very good job when he comes out. I'm sorry, I'm typing at the same time because I was taking notes on I have two laptops. I'm weird like that. I was taking notes on my laptop for the episode, and I guess my last bit didn't save, so I'm having to pull up the Impact Wrestling website. Give me a second to type because I can't talk and type at the same time. I really like where this is hopefully going. Um, I think this is I think we all kind of agree with this. Like I think it's leading to like Nick Aldis. It makes sense, right? It makes sense that that's where we're going. But right now, Bully Ray and Mickey James, I would say arguably are the biggest stars on the show. If you're talking about the landscape of wrestling to the casual wrestling audience, and I don't mean the audience I'm talking about, but it just really the casual like who doesn't watch a lot of wrestling. Um, oh, I forgot BTI had Jonathan Gresham versus Aiden Prince. I forgot to watch that. My bad. Um, that's my ADD kicking in because I don't even know what the hell I was talking about. But I was talking about Mickey James and Bully Ray. They're like they're the bigger stars on the show. So I think what they're doing is good. Mickey's not necessarily like defending the title. I mean, granted, she has the match with Masha coming up. We know Masha's not going to win. It might not even be it might be a no contest. You know, I think there's a bigger story involved here, but we're not like focused on Mickey wrestling every week and Bubba wrestling every week. Like some people who know how to tell a story behind the microphone are doing what they do. And I brought up Bully Ray fake high fiving the fan and ripping the sign, looking at the girl. Like that's what I'm talking about. It's what I'm talking about the whole episode. Now the fans can be part of the show, and the wrestlers can really engage with them, and they know they're going to come off on screen. And that's why it's so different than staring at eight people, you know, clapping Goofy and booing Goofy and all that all episode. So Tommy Dreamer comes out during this though. And again, this is like the Raven stuff I'm talking about. You know, a bunch of old fat dudes like on the screen. I don't understand what target audience they are trying to reach with this. I feel like they're not getting away from the hope that they can grab some of these people back who used to watch back in the day. I feel like they cannot can't get away from that way of thinking. But as much as like the bully stuff with Mickey, it's like here's Tommy, and he's a big part of this show still. And I mean, I've been talking about this for like 3-4 years now about Tommy Dreamer on the show. He's good at what he does. I'm not saying he's bad at anything he does. He's not. He's the only person to get a bad match out of Rich Swann, you know. But besides that, he's good at what he does. He comes running out there and he's winded. He's absolutely effing winded. He's blown up. The ramp is not that long. Oh my gosh. It was a bad look. Um, I don't know what his role is in this. I thought, I mean, I know where this is going. They're gonna have an old school match on Impact Plus. I would be shocked if it was anything besides that, and then hopefully from there they can get back on track with Bully and Mickey and whatever story there is. After that, we get Killer Kelly's fine ass and Taylor Wilde, and it looks like they're going to be teaming up instead of wrestling again. It was weird when they both did wrestle because they're both like these. Again, I don't know if they're both heels or baby faces. I think they're both baby faces. There's like definitely some tweener with Killer Kelly, but I don't believe she's a heel. Taylor Wilde, I thought was going heel. I don't know what the hell she's doing. But I'm not turned off by the Taylor Wilde stuff. It's different, you know. So why not see what she can do with it? She's probably still figuring it out, but I was liking where this was going at first, and then it kind of became comedy. Like it went from like this like cool segment to bad comedy to where I actually was laughing at it because when the Death Doll showed up, you know, and basically made the match, so to speak, and then they all like Rosemary and Killer Kelly and Taylor Wilde were like goofy laughing. I think Jessica was too, and it was just like this infectious goofy laugh they just were all doing, and then Taya's like, "The hell's going on here?" I thought that was funny. So again, it just went from this like kind of cool, a little bit serious angle to like bad comedy, and then to actual what I thought was kind of funny. So I'm down for some Killer Kelly and Taylor Wilde as a team. I'm down for that. I think they should win the belts. To be honest with you, I don't know what Taya's long term status is with the company. I hope she's around because we like Taya, and I think the Death Dolls are cool too. You know what I mean? Um, and after this, we get Johnny Swinger versus Kenny King. Kenny King beat the shit out of him. He has one of the better finishers in the company. Um, has a good name for it, the Royal Flush. So I thought the way he was just calling Swinger old, I had to beat this old guy. I thought it was good. King is just great. Um, I just hope there's more, like more to come with him. I hope they like really get behind him. Then Bully Ray's backstage with Masha. Masha's there's purple lights, there's green lights, there's all that nonsense. I'm gonna bring that up every time because it bothers me that much. I'm gonna bring it up every time. Um, now she's part of this, and this is what Masha needs. I thought when Masha won the 4-way match, it was kind of weird because it was like, man, we're really putting her back in this spot again. When it felt like she was in a place where we needed to see her built up again because they really like cut her legs out very quick. I mean, she lost 3 out of 4 matches. She lost like 3 in a row, I believe. When I say 3 out of 4, she won that 4-way, but I'm pretty sure she lost the 3 matches before it. So we're kind of like, what are they doing? But it seems like she's part of this. She's kind of a part of a story now. She's not going to beat Mickey James, but I think there's a bigger picture here. And what the Bully Ray and Josh story taught us is that this is the one feud and the one story that they've been very forward thinking in, and they have a plan and it's going somewhere. It's not just we're bringing Bully. Like when they first brought Bully Ray on, I thought they were just doing it to do it. Like when they brought RVD on, like you know what I'm saying? Like, let's bring this old guy to come wrestle and he's gonna be part of the show. Whoop de fucking do. But he's actually a really, part of what they're doing in the main event scene and giving us good heel work. And if Masha can learn anything from this dude, that can only help her. Uh Almost to the end here. Want to wrap this up soon. Major players, they debuted a rap video. This was very bad. I don't know if I'm sure it was meant to be bad to an extent, but I mean, take it from someone who like rapped for 17 years. You can't even rap to that beat. That wasn't something you could even like to someone who knows how to rap could rap to. Like it wasn't even a hip hop beat. He was nowhere near the beat on this. It was bad, like meant to be bad, and it was also bad because it was bad. But it was also funny. I thought it would be funnier when he turned around if no one was standing there. But instead you got that one dude who kind of buries him in a sense, like some jabron backstage jabron. The way that he responded to Cardona almost buried him to an extent. So it's like I just think the major players could really be a good part of the show, and they're both funny. So let them be funny, but let's not get corny with them. You know what I mean? Like they're naturally funny, so that can bleed through, but you don't have to overproduce it too much. But the song it was funny. It was very bad though. And then we got the main event. It was Josh Alexander, Rich Swann, Frankie Kazarian, Yuya Uemura against the Design and Callahan. I like that they call Callahan Callahan. The Angels, Khan, they all got first names, Diener. But I still think as the leader, you should have a full name. I mean, Doring was Joe Doring though, so I don't whatever. But I think Diener should be Cody Diener, like Eric Young was Eric Young. He wasn't young, you know. Um, but I thought this was okay. They've kept Josh Alexander off TV for a little bit, which I think is smart. Like I think you have to let it breathe. They try to throw Josh Alexander on every episode like he's CM Punk and he's driving ratings. Um, I think it's good to keep him off a little bit, especially after the hard to kill match. He should be off screen a little bit, not necessarily having to talk a whole lot. Uh, I, they win the match. The Callahan beats Uemura. This is another guy I'm talking about. I don't think I've ever seen him win a match. Maybe on BTI he's won. Maybe in that like X Division tournament, I've never seen him win, or at least not that I can think of. I don't know what his finisher is. I always base that off if I've seen someone win enough, if I know what their finisher is. And My guy Lewis was talking about, oh, maybe this is a future X Division champion. Like I don't even see how you can insert him to a storyline at this point. I don't even know why he was in this match. Like he did the run in last week, and it just seemed like random dudes ran out. It was like the episode of AEW where Soraya called out the AEW women's locker rooms. Like, I want all the ladies to come out here, and it's like four random ass chicks. Madison Rain and Willow Nightingale, and I mean, like a couple other girls that don't even wrestle hardly on the show, like Sky Blue. You know what I mean? It was like real random. And that's what I felt when these guys came out. It was like, we just need a way to put Josh and Frankie in a match, and then like your Uemura comes out, and maybe am I thinking about something? Oh, you know what? They were saying he's friends with what's his nuts, with the green mask, Delirious. I've never seen them interact on the show, so I'm going to take their word for it. But he's a good looking kid. He's got some talent, but I think he's just going to be one of these underneath guys. I don't see him doing a whole lot with the company, or like, I don't see him like at the top of the card. They used him here though, but someone had to take the pin. That they weren't going to pin Josh, Rich, or Frankie. I think because I really was not super invested in the match. I'm not going to bullshit you. I really think Josh versus Rich Swann, this is my last point, is going to be the best Impact Wrestling match of 2023. I think the pit fight is like right there. I thought that was excellent. I thought that opening tag team match tonight was right there too. Like I really think these are like top 5, those two top 5 for the year. And the year just kicked off. But Rich Swann, with the exception of Wrestling Tommy Dreamer, cannot have a bad match. Josh Alexander cannot have a bad match unless it's against Big Con or Charlie Haas. But when you have two guys who just deliver, I think it's going to be amazing. I think this is going to be one of like the main events that we're like really talking about. Like, yo, these two brought the house down, and Swann lost, but it elevated him because we Swann needs to get elevated again. But I think this is going to be the match of the year. I'm calling it right now. I know I have no idea what's going on the rest of the year, but I think these two are gonna kick ass. And we knew this match was coming, and we're gonna get it here soon. Swann is not gonna win. We know he's not gonna win, but this is a rare case where wrestling for the sake of wrestling, I think, is going to be good for me as a fan, because hey, come watch Josh Alexander wrestle for an hour and 45 minutes and 33 seconds, or is bringing this rando to have a great match with Josh. Like, okay, cool. It's like the speedball stuff, the Frankie stuff, like they're just long matches for the sake of long matches. Like nothing in the story. There was not a story to be like, we want to watch a match this long. There's no reason to watch a match that long. So even though those were awesome matches, it was just kind of like, we're just watching wrestling. And with this one, we're just going to be kind of watching wrestling. Maybe there's a little more to Swann and all this, because he's clearly going to be working here with the design and Sammy. Or maybe he's just teaming up with Callahan and not OVE. Maybe it's just Swann. But anyway, these guys are just having a match just to have a fucking main event for Impact Plus, because we know the quote unquote money is Macklin and Josh Alexander. We know that's where they're going. They're not going to deviate that, so we know Swann's going to lose. This is the one time where I'm like, yo, I'm looking forward to these two guys wrestling just to freaking wrestle, because I'm not so much because I'm not like the biggest Josh Alexander fan in the world. I like him, but I'm not, I was going to say I don't own his merch, but I do. But Swann is someone I love. So it's almost impossible for me not to care what he's doing. And I maintain that he cannot have a bad match. I think Kenny Omega might have been his worst match, for different circumstances. But I think they're going to bring the house down. I think that the place is going to be crazy. It's going to be loud. It's just going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to reviewing that show in general, because I feel like they're going to really progress some stories too, especially with Bully Mickey. And I think it's going to be interesting. The show doesn't have Scott Moore all over it, so I'm more invested in it for that reason, just because I find his on-screen character annoying. But um, I'm looking forward to the next episode, just because I look back at this episode, I'm like, what happened? What really honestly happened? Like, with the exception of that first match, the rest was just kind of like okay for me, but the overall presentation of it was good. So it was enjoyable for me. Lots of wheel on the night, unfortunately, but other than that, it was good. It was fun. So that's gonna do it for me, folks. I am wrapping this up. I've got to go do some things. I got a couple things I got to get at the store, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. Hopefully, I can do a Q&A episode soon. Stream and just talk to you guys. Get your thoughts on what's going on with Impact, because I haven't had that connection with a lot of you guys in a little while. Just because we haven't been doing the Cool Factor podcast, but I haven't had that connection. So I do want to know, instead of me just talking to you guys, I want to have an opportunity to talk with you and see what everyone's thinking about what's going on. So that's it for me. I'm your boy BQ, folks. Thanks for checking me out. Peace.